What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Drive for Show, DFS for Dough here on RotoGrinders. That means another week of golf talk is upon us. And you know what? I would say kind of the unofficial start of the PGA Tour season for a lot of people. Football season's winding down. We're down to the conference championships in the NFL. And the golf tournaments kind of tend to ramp up here over the next 3 months. Of course, we get the Players in March. We get the Masters in April, and a pretty kind of big boy tournament this week at Torrey Pines, which I don't know, just kind of feels like the start of the year for me. A lot of times we got a couple of warm-ups, the first few weeks of January, but this will be by far the toughest course that we've seen probably in several months. So kickstarting, I guess, the real part of the PGA Tour season this week. To help do that, you've got myself, Justin Van Zuiden, and Mr. Derek Farnsworth, a.k.a. Notorious. Hope y'all are staying warm wherever you might happen to be. Brutal wind chills out in the northern part of the country, so hope everybody's staying safe. And Noto, what's up?
Yeah, what's going on? Great stretch of golf coming up. I love Torrey Pines. We get Pebble next week, and then we get the Phoenix Open, which is going to be a lot of fun. Unfortunately, Genesis isn't going to be a rib this year, but still, some great events coming up. Excited for those. And, coming off a good week. Didn't have Straka in my main lineup, but 3 guys in the top 10. And unfortunately, Sungjae was my only guy that missed the cut. Couldn't believe he was +5 in his one round at the stadium course.
Yeah, one bad round on in that tournament is really enough to sink you because you need to make so many birdies. So if you struggled one round, I mean, he had 2 pretty solid rounds after that, but was just not good enough to get up to the cut line, which was pretty significant after 3 rounds. And he was, he ended up, -6, I believe. So just a couple shots short of the cut line. But after 5 over par opening round, it was pretty tough to make up all that ground. So that was a big surprise last week. He was, of course, really popular. A lot of the other guys kind of got it done. Justin Thomas finishing runner-up, of course, to Straka. Jason Day continues to play well and probably as healthy as he's been in quite a while. Patrick Cantlay back on the wagon with a solid finish. Grazerman continues, and Ben Griffin both inside the top 10 as well. Those 2 guys continued their toured run over the last 4 to 6 months. Nice to see Will Zalatoris playing some good golf again as well. So, Sungjae was a surprise, but most of the other top names were kind of in the mix there last week. And while Straka had it seemingly comfortably most of Sunday, it was most of the top names at near the top of the leaderboard there.
Yeah, it was an interesting Sunday. JT made a run early. I think he missed like a 7-footer that could have really closed the gap there. And then Hoffman was making a run too. Haven't heard his name in a while, at least not near the top of the leaderboard. He ended up missing 2 pretty short putts and then pulling his tee shot into the water on the par 3. I think he had his second tee shot in the water too. So that kind of sunk him. So yeah, Steph kind of just was able to walk through the finish line. He didn't have a single bogey until the very last hole, which is pretty impressive. I think Taylor Moore also had a bogey-free tournament. So yeah, I mean, a lot of birdies, not a lot of shot tracker. I don't know. The event's fine, but I'm excited for a difficult course that we get shot tracker for 3 of the 4 days anyway.
Yeah, Noto does not like the lack of shot tracker, but pretty cool. As you mentioned, there was Straka not making a bogey until his last hole of the tournament, which was pretty impressive. And basically on that last hole there, he didn't need to take any chances with the 3-shot lead and didn't obviously want to put his approach in the water. So played it safe and finished at 25 under par for the week. And so as you mentioned, we do get still have a 2-course rotation. Again, we'll still have that for a couple more weeks. We'll have a rotation at Pebble as well before the Phoenix Open. And just with limited daylight, it's tough to get a full field through one course. So before the cut this week, you'll have 1 round on the South course, which does have shot tracker, 1 round on the North course, which tends to play a little bit easier at Torrey Pines. And then once the cut is made, they scrap the North course, and the South course will host the weekend. So we'll break the course down here in just a sec. Before we flip that page, anything else you want to touch on from last week?
Yeah, I don't know if we mentioned our one and done picks last week. Who did you go with?
Yeah, so that did not go well. We both had Henley the first week, so that worked out well. Last week, I took Wyndham Clark. We talked about the upside on the show. I didn't feel like there was another week where I was going to absolutely, need to use Wyndham Clark. Went for the ceiling. He was only 2% taken in the one and done last week, and he missed the cut as well. So he was right there on Saturday. He was playing the tougher course on Saturday. Got down to the point where he needed to birdie his last hole, and he hit his tee shot in the water and made a 7. So it looks pretty bad, but he was right on the cut line heading to that last hole. So it's a miscut for me, which no fun.
Yeah, I had Sung JM, so he was pretty much out of it after the first round. I think Dan Bach ended up with Straka, right?
Yeah, he did. So he's ahead of us at the moment. With that picking the winner last week and us both having a miscut. So it's a long season. We might get some some free bumps in the standings this week. That Wednesday lock's going to be tricky for a lot of people, I think. So thank goodness for the text message notifications reminding me to do it. And I put mine in earlier, so we'll make sure we talk about it at the end of the show today. And if you're on watching us live, if you're interested in doing a snake draft tonight, we filled one a couple weeks ago. We didn't fill one last week. Don't necessarily want to hem and haw around trying to fill a snake draft. So if you're interested in doing a snake draft, please just post a message in the YouTube chat. If you hop on at any point during the show and you're watching us on playback or you're behind a little bit, pop a message in the YouTube chat if you're interested in doing a snake draft tonight. We'll see if we can do one at the end of the show. So. All right, let's talk Torrey Pines. Mentioned kind of the unofficial start of the tour season for a lot of people. Tougher golf course than we've seen, throughout the fall. And obviously here in January, we've seen some birdie fests. So this one hits a little bit different. And as I just alluded to, starts tomorrow, Wednesday morning, because they want to go through Wednesday through Saturday and not compete with the big football games on Sunday. So Wednesday morning lock time, I believe it is 11:50 a.m. on the East Coast and 8:50 on the West Coast. I think I'm going to check those tee times right now so that I am not giving incorrect information out. I think it's 10:50 my time central. So 8:50 on the West Coast, 11:50 on the East Coast is lock time on Wednesday. So if you've got dummy lineups in or reserved entries, make sure you get those completed on time. So what are we looking at for a course this week?
I get why they move the event, to avoid the NFL. Why don't they do that, the first 5 events or whatever it is, first 4 events, just do that Wednesday through Saturday.
Well, the last couple rounds of football, though, there's been football on Saturday. So what's the difference?
Well, then you just only compete with them for one day.
True. Fair point.
Yeah. 2. I don't know. It'd just be fun. I like the extra sweat, while we're working during the day.
Have something to basically gives you something to do on Wednesday.
Makes your day go by a little faster. But yeah, so Torrey Pines South Course, just a beast. Par 72. Almost 7,800 yards, hosted the U.S. Open a few years ago. The winning score has been 1,500 or worse each of the last 5 years. It's always like 7th, 4th, 9th in terms of difficulty the last 4 years. Very small fairways, very small greens. They're Poana, so a lot of the golfers, hate the bumpiness of the greens. And yeah, pretty much the fairways are tough to hit. The greens are tough to hit. Scrambling is difficult here. A lot of long irons. It's definitely a course that favors the bombers because everyone's going to be missing the fairways anyway. You might as well get some distance out there. If you look at course history, it certainly favors those that are longer off the tee. Then the North Course is like the polar opposite. It's shorter, almost 500 yards shorter. It's par 72. It's routinely one of the 10 easiest courses on the PGA Tour. Has bentgrass greens, so golfers like those greens a little bit more. But we don't know as much about that course because we don't have any shot link data from it. So yeah, I'm kind of looking for guys that play well on difficult courses, guys that are long off the tee, guys that play well in California, good long iron players, good scramblers. What about you?
Yeah, I think the bomber angle certainly has merit this week, and definitely the scrambling and the bogey avoidance with a different type of course. You're not going to be able to just score at will particularly on the South Course. It's just it's so long and so challenging that there's not a whole lot of free holes. Even some of the par 5s are pretty long. And you're going to have to scramble at various points. So around the green play, certainly more important here than what we've seen in a number of events here over the last 6 months. I just think it lends itself to a different type of golfer, guys who are more grinders. There tend to be golfers that I prefer playing on. We'll get to some of them that on courses that require a little bit more of a patient approach. So if you look at the winning scores of this event, and again, obviously you got one round on the North course, which, as Noto mentioned, tends to play easier, but -13, -13, -15, -14, -15, -21. Kind of an odd year there, but then -10, -13, -6, -9, -9. So it's not -28, -30, -27, -31. Your winning scores tend to be around half of that, generally in the low teens. And also, a tournament where you tend to see the better players rise up to the top, or the guys that were in good form. Max Homa won here a couple years ago when he was in good form. Patrick Reed, John Rahm, Jason Day, Justin Rose. I mean, all those guys. Tiger dominated here when he was in his prime. So it tends to be a course that brings out the better player towards the top of the leaderboard most years. I mean, Pavon won last year, so anything can happen any given week in golf, but you tend to see more of a top down approach to the leaderboard in these more difficult events.
Yeah, for sure. And since they lengthened it, it's even gotten more difficult. So it should be fun. A lot of the events so far have just been birdie fest. So I kind of like these. It feels like a major. We got a pretty strong field too. And just had to, my little one comes up. He knows when I have a show, and he always comes up with candy. I'm like, can I have it? And I'm just like, yeah, get out of here. He knows how to trick the system.
That's sounds pretty clever to me. I can't fight it when you're on the air. So, all right. Well, let's go ahead and dig in. We've got 4 golfers in the 5-digit price point on DraftKings this week. Ludwig Åberg at the top of the list. Matsuyama, who's been playing some strong golf. Tony Finau and Sungjae Im, last week's disappointment, are your 4 golfers above 10K this week. How are you approaching this? Feel like you need to take one of these guys. Mention the top of the leaderboard tends to be the better players more often than not here. So are we starting with one of the top 4?
I do think I will be in most lineups. Pricing does feel a little bit softer this week. I do think there's some viable plays in the 6Ks, guys that are just really long off the tee that have decent track record here. So I'll be playing a lot of the 10Ks. Might build some lineups with two of these 4. Ludwig Åberg is probably my favorite. I was a little bit worried about the injury and rust, but he finished 6th at the Hero, finished 5th at the Century. And then you look at his course history, he's only played here once, finished 9th. I think John Rahm kind of did the same thing. He almost won in his first appearance here and then won the event later in his career. It might have been his second appearance. I can't remember. But he's been great in the majors, been great on difficult courses. So he's obviously a bomber too. So I like him quite a bit. Hideki's been playing some great golf. He's got really good course history. The 2 that I have a little bit less interest in are just Finau and Sungjae. I still worry about Finau a little bit. He's played in 2 events in the last 3 months because he was also injured. He tends to play well out west and does fit the bomber angle, but did miss a cut last week. And then Sungjae just doesn't have the length that some of these other guys have. Although I will know, over the last 6 months, he's actually 25th in this field in driving distance. So maybe he's picked up some speed recently, because over the last 12 months, he's 78th.
Yeah, really good course history here for Sungjae as well. Outside of one hiccup, he's played really well here in the past. And I think that's interesting because so many people got burned by Sungjae last week. I just think that, we've got his ownership fairly high, at least higher than I would expect. I think that, and people are, take a different approach to DFS than they used to. So, maybe everybody's going to go back to that well. But I'd be surprised if Sungjae is over, 20 to 22% that we have him at right now. Missed the cut here last year, as I just mentioned, but 4th and 6th 2 years prior to that. Interesting bounce back spot, I think, for Sungjae Im. And assuming that ownership trends down a little bit, he's probably my favorite for GPPs. I think Matsuyama and Åberg are certainly the safe plays. But Ludwig is 12-1 in some spots. It surprised me that he was that short of odds on this course in this field, but he's getting some respect from the odds makers. Certainly wouldn't bet that at 12-1, but was just surprised a little bit to see him at that number. So, I'll probably sprinkle in exposure to the other three, but Sung Jae is probably the guy I plan on being the most overweight on this week. And I can do a nice troll of Noto since Noto used him last week. So I think I'm going to use Sung Jae as my one and done pick this week. So
I'm going Jason Day this week.
It's been a while since we've been able to, gush over Jason Day. That's Noto tends to be the Jason Day whisperer. And, he's solid golf, T3 last week, and playing while he's healthy. So he's in that 9K range. You got Keegan in there as well. Grazerman, who continues to play really well. Zalatoris seems to be healthy. It rolled in more putts than I expected him to last week. So solid top 15 finish for him. So I think this 9K range is really interesting as well. It's going to be sticker shock for a lot of people, I think, on Grazerman. But at that salary, Keegan has felt overpriced to me for a while, but coming off a T6 at the Sony, it's kind of one of those that I haven't really been on him for a while, so probably not going to play him at that price. But the others in this range, I think you can all make a case for. Theegala and Shane Lowry round out the 9Ks. What are you looking at in here?
Yeah, I like the lower part of the range a lot. You mentioned Lowry. Hasn't played here a ton, but was T25 here last year. He hasn't played a lot of golf recently. I don't think he's seeded up in almost 3 months, but he's a guy that just tends to play difficult courses well. He's obviously won the Open, really good track record at the majors. So I like him. Theegala, I know he's difficult to predict, but you get him in California and he tends to be consistent. Went to Pepperdine, so he should be pretty comfortable on these Poana greens. He's 3 for 3 here with the top 5 finish. So I like both of them, and then I like Jason Day quite a bit too. He's not a good iron player, but he tends to have like these 4 or 5 week stretches where he gains strokes with the irons. Gained 1.4 at the Century, gained 3.7 last week, and that was only in 2 rounds at the Amex. So he's a guy that's long off the tee, good around the green. He's got a great course history here. If you go back, I mean, he's won here before in 2008. Oh, he's won here twice in the last 10 years. So, Jason Day is my one and done pick. Going to be one of my highest owned golfers. And then the upper part, I don't know. Are you playing Zalatoris? I really want him to be great again. I just am having a hard time doing it.
Yeah, I think so. He's one of those guys that I alluded to earlier. I like him more on a tougher track. Don't have to worry about the putting quite as much. I think the tee to green game will shine. And, he's got a 2nd, a 7th, and a 13th here in 4 trips. So, I haven't played him much since his comeback, but I think this is a spot. Like, I know the price tag's a little worrisome, but I'm going to definitely have him in my player pool, I think, for GPPs this week. I wouldn't put him in a single lineup, though, I don't think. But, I do kind of like him in this kind of type of tournament with maybe higher scoring.
Yeah, I'll probably have a little bit. If he's going to be 10%, I think it makes sense. And then Grazerman, we talked about it last week. Like, he's now seeing these courses the second time around. And another good finish, T7 last week. He missed the cut here last year, but it was by 1 stroke. So I'll probably play.
Yeah, and he's just a different golfer now. I mean, he's playing on a different level than he was last year at this time. So I don't have a strong take on him. If choosing between them, I maybe pick Zalatoris over him, especially if Zalatoris is half the ownership. But I like both of them. I'd play both of them over Keegan.
Same.
Grazerman, Zalatoris.
Keegan's going to bury us. I know it.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be like Seamus Power a few years ago when he went prime Tiger for a couple months. And Keegan will be the most expensive guy at the Waste Management in a few weeks or something. But anyway, Lowry's another guy that people tend to gravitate more towards on difficult tracks. He has not played on the PGA Tour a whole lot lately, had some good results in the fall in Europe. So I'm okay with him as well. So mix and match in some of those guys in the 9K range seems fine. And I suppose you could start, line up with a couple of them if you're not going up into the 10s. So anything else on that range for you?
No, I think that's it. I was just going to mention, I paid Keegan every week now, and he's always on the broadcast. Every time he makes a putt, he does a little bow to his putter. it's just, man, it's tough to watch when you don't have him in your lineups.
Just rubs the salt in the wound when he does the bow. You've been doing okay to start the year. It's okay. He can troll you a little bit. All right, so let's move down into the 8K range, where again this field is fairly deep, at least compared to what we are used to during the fall. So you got McNeely down here. Form has maybe dipped just a little bit, but solid golfer for 8,900. Pendrith is another guy that's kind of been making a bunch of cuts. He's long off the tee, and he has made the cut 3 straight years at this event. So Pendrith is most definitely my favorite of the upper 8Ks, and it's really not even that close. Like I could make a case for McNeely. I could make a case for Kitayama. Probably not playing Homa right now. Clanton, still as a young guy in this field, maybe a little bit of a step up. I don't know. I'm clearly favoring Pendrith in here. So if you're making one lineup playing one guy from this range, it's Pendrith for me. Maybe McNeely second, but what are you looking at in the upper 8Ks?
Yeah, I agree with you on Pendrith. He seems like the obvious click. I bet him at 35 to 1. Bomber off the tee, good with the long irons. He's an excellent putter. You mentioned 3 for 3 here with a couple top 20s. He hasn't missed a cut in 12 starts. He's got 920 top 25s during that stretch. So he really checks all the boxes for me. Outside of that, I mean, McNeely is from California. Tends to play the West Coast stretch well. He's been playing some really good golf, including the win in the fall. I will play a little bit of Homa. So the biggest reason why he struggled, last year, especially the second half of the year, was he just was so bad off the tee. He was regularly losing like 5 strokes off the tee. But his last 2 events, he gained at the Zozo, gained 2.1 at the Century. I know the fairways there are extremely wide, but you look at his track record at this course, at this and in California in general, and he's been awesome. So I'll play some Homa if he's going to be single-digit ownership. And then I know I'm playing the bomber angle a lot this week, but the other way you can make up for it is with really good long iron play if you hit the fairways. And Aaron Rye's kind of a guy that I like at 8,300. Just one of the best iron players in the field. He's 5th in strokes gained approach over the last 12 months. And he's also 3 for 3 here with a top 10. So I'll play some of him. And, I've been playing Ben Griffin every week, but this is where I hop off. I like him on short, easy courses. The same with Eric Cole, but this is the week I hop off both of them.
Man, Griffin's just been so good. 7th again last week. I'm just gonna keep playing him. The off the tee, the distance, as you mentioned, definitely not there compared to some other guys. But if you're looking at, let's see, I've got 24 rounds sorted right now. He's 3rd in total strokes gained. He's 15th around the green, 24th on approach. So pretty good all over the place. And as long as he can keep it in play off the tee, I think he can make up for the distance a little bit. So I'm going to keep playing Griffin at that salary. I would have expected him to be a little bit higher. So he is still kind of a key guy for me. I like the Rye call as well. And frankly, there's not a whole lot of guys in this range because Akshay and Harry Hall have both withdrawn. So not a whole lot of guys in the lower 8K range. I'm fine with Hostler, but I'd rather play those other guys. So Rye and Griffin in here probably for me. And then we start to dip down into the 7s. But
are you
still
playing Harry Hall, your boy?
He withdrew this morning.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Yeah.
Take him out of my model.
So we might not have that reflected in the projections yet. So that was a late. I think we got him out of there. Anyway, no, I'm not playing Harry Hall because he's not playing either. Otherwise, I would. Did
you happen to see the DP World Tour video that they put out? You know how they do some great content off the course?
Yeah.
It had Minwoo Lee and Akshay and Padraig Harrington, just a bunch of guys. And there's like a social media expert trying to get them to be interesting. You have to check it out. It's pretty good.
I have not seen that. So, yeah, I'll check that out after the show. All right. So that takes us down into the 7s. You got Spawn after I just put the hex on myself a few weeks ago. He's been playing well. Dietrich in here, I think, is a great fit for this course. Has some solid results here. He's a guy I like this week. Hubbard finally found himself in the mix, and he's been showing some more top finishes after being the guy that would make every cut last year but not do anything. He's finally shown a little more upside. Jaeger in here was in the mix a couple weeks ago. Berger, Gim. You've got the veteran Justin Rose in here as well. It just a whole lot of guys that, on a different week would maybe be in the 8Ks. What are you looking at in the upper sevens here?
Yeah, you mentioned Spawn. He's been great recently. I don't really love his course history. His miscuts have been like almost dead last in the field in 3 of the last 4 years. So if he's going to be the highest owned in the bunch, I'll probably avoid him. I love Jaeger coming off a 3rd place finish. You don't get the nickname Jaeger Bombs by being short off the tee. He's 10th in the field in driving distance over the last 6 months, and he was 3rd here last year too. So really like Jaeger. Don't mind going to Dietrich. I want to say he was like in the mix on the weekend last year here. Ended up finishing T20. After that, I'll play some Justin Rose. This is a course that definitely benefits the veterans that know how to play the classical, difficult courses. He's got a great track record here. And that's pretty much it for me until we get to the bottom of the range. Is there anybody else you like here?
Yeah, I like the Rose call, and he's going to be about 6% owned. We haven't seen him that much. You mentioned really long track record here. I mean, the last 3 years he's made the cut, couple top 20s in there as well. The true definition of a grinder at 7.6K. I mean, that's and you can bet him at like 130 to 1 or something like that. So I've seen some steam on him on some social media platforms this week as well. So I like Rose and Jaeger and Dietrich in that range. I think those are my 3. We're kind of in agreement there. That's about it above 7.5K. As we start to go down the list a little bit further, I mean, Fishburne was in the mix a few weeks ago. Matt Wallace was a guy a lot of people targeted at various points throughout the late summer and fall. This is as cheap as Eric Cole's been for a while. Johnny Vegas, if you want to go for the bomber narrative, I'm probably going to get suckered into a little Johnny Vegas this week. What are you looking at in the lower part of the 7Ks?
Yeah, if I had to guess, I pulled ownership this morning, so maybe it's different, but I would guess Vegas is going to be more popular than Eric Cole. What do we have it at right now?
I have it open here, so just a second. I guess got to scroll down. So Vegas, we've got Cole at 15 and Vegas at 7.
Yeah, I would say those are probably going to be closer to 12 for Vegas, maybe 10 for Cole. I don't know. He's just he's like the longest guy in this range, and he's played here a bunch. But I do think he's interesting. I tagged him this week. I also tagged Sam Stevens. Right now, he's projecting as the 16th best guy on my model. I do have driving distance weighted quite a bit, but he's one of the best putters on Poana. He's 2 for 2 here, and he's playing pretty well this year and in the fall. So I like Sam Stevens quite a bit. Taylor Moore, I mentioned, didn't make a bogey last week. He could be a little bit interesting. Michael Kim has picked up a ton of speed. He's top 40 in driving distance now. He used to be one of those guys that would only compete on the shorter tracks, and he's got a good track record here. And the other guy, Kevin Yu, bomber, was T6 here last year. I think he's going to be a little popular too, but 7,100 is a pretty good price point for him.
Yeah, I don't know how popular he'll be. He tends to, I don't know, he never seems to be like mega chalk for some reason. We've got Rico Hoey popping with some ownership. I don't know. I mean, I've played him kind of throughout the fall. His opening January results, a couple made cuts, no top 50s. So he's just kind of making the weekend. But I don't mind it. But if he's going to be clearly higher owned than some of these other guys, I'd rather pivot. But the mid 7Ks is so strong, the mid to upper 7Ks, that's kind of where I'm going with most of my value. You can, maybe take a dart throw on somebody below 7K. If I take a dart throw on somebody below 7K, it's definitely going to be a bomber. And you just close your eyes and hope they make enough putts. Jake Knapp comes to mind. Luke List is the past winner here with frightening putting. I mean, it's just close your eyes, but he has won here in the past. So are you dancing with anybody below 7,000?
Yeah, you mentioned it. Just target the guys that are long off the tee. So I do like Luke List. I do like Joseph Bramlett. He's got a pretty good track record here. Moving down, Hayden Springer, really long off the tee, made the cut here last year. Mentioned Jake Knapp. I think is interesting. And think that's it for me. But we'll be mixing in anybody that's like long off the tee that's played here before. I'll probably get a little bit of.
That means Luke List. What about Sam Ryder?
I don't think he's very long off the tee.
Just saw
but I remember he was in the mix here, and that's when he went viral because of his joggers.
His last 5 trips here, 3 missed cuts and 2 top 10s. So all or nothing.
So he's 128th in the field in driving distance.
That surprises me. I didn't think he was that short.
But he is a good long iron player. So
let's see. Who else? Bramlett.
Yeah, I like Bramlett.
I'm just looking at distance now. Schmidt has been in terrible form. Hey, your boy Toasty's in the field.
Oh, I was gonna bring him up. Yeah, I gotta play for Toasty. Have to.
That would fit the metric of long and who knows what else. And
he'll DQ'd from going to fit. But.
He's either gonna make the cut and be a surprise top 30, or he's gonna shoot an 84 and then get DQ'd. There's probably no in between with him. So. All right, I mentioned it at the top of the show, but if you're interested in a snake draft, nobody has responded to that, so I might pass again. But throw a message in the YouTube chat if you just tuned in, if you're interested, and we can maybe try to load up a snake draft if we got enough people roaming about. So, but don't want to start one and sit there. So that's anybody else? I mean, I think we've kind of covered most of it at this point.
Yeah, let me quickly.
Did you see the shot tracker of William Mao shooting a 13 last week?
I saw the coverage, and the announcers were so disappointed in him. Every shot, it was so funny. They just were like, "Come on, you can't do that." They were not having it, so it was kind of.
He was playing back and forth with the big bunker on 15 or whatever hole that is, and the rough, and he hit a perfect drive and finished perfect drive on the hole. And the second shot was in the green side bunker on a par 5, and he made a 13. So been there, well, not there, literally myself, but could probably handle a 13. So, all right, one and done picks this week. Again, Noto's got Jason Day. I've got Sung J M. It can't go worse than last week, as we both had a missed cut. And with that, I'll probably go ahead and call it a show. I haven't seen anybody asking about the snake draft in the chat, so we don't have to sit around and wait for that. Steve, our producer, it's cold. He's ready to call it a day, and it's cold everywhere. So bundle up, enjoy the Farmers Insurance Open. We'll be back next week with Pebble Beach, and then the Waste Management Phoenix Open after that. So 3 fun weeks in a row. Anything else, Noto, before we hop off?
No, hop in the Discord. It's a lot of fun. We're probably going to have a made cut parlay posted there pretty soon. Yeah, we missed it by 1 each of the last 2 weeks. Just how it works.
Who was the culprit last week? Was it Sungjae or not? Or was that too
No, because he was like minus 700, so we didn't take him. Brian Harmon, my guy of all people.
Oh, see, there goes. Noto's the guy letting everybody down. So, All right, we'll check that out. Again, rotogrinders.com/Discord. You don't have to be a premium subscriber to get in the Discord. Just need to be a regular RotoGrinders member. So check that out. Lots of fun sweating your golfers in there. And we'll call it a week. Thanks to Noto, as always, for joining me. Thanks to Steve for producing, working hard behind the scenes. I'm Justin, and we'll see you next week, everybody.